save 10% with my code Bobby10. Just kidding, guys. Today's offer is much greater than a saving of 10%. I teamed up with my Muslim brothers and we created Pure Passage. Imagine sending the reward of Umrah this Ramadan to someone you really loved but had already departed from this dunya. Or they're really sick and they cannot perform Umrah at all. Imagine the feeling of honoring his or her memory and expressing your love and devotion while still ensuring that they receive this gift. The reward of performing Umrah. As a new revert, I just learned about this, but you know better than me that performing Umrah is a profound spiritual journey that most Muslims aspire to undertake, and you understand the rewards of it. However, for some, this journey can be challenging, especially when their loved ones are sick or have already passed away. At Pure Passage, we are...
What the fuck is Umrah? I gotta look this up. Umrah. Pilgrimage that can be completed at any time of the year. Saudi Arabia's Ministry of Hajj and Umrah and the Motawif for pilgrims from Europe, the Americas, and Australia have developed an electronic portal through which pilgrims register for Hajj. The fuck is Umrah? Go to Mecca. Okay. And what is this stupid thing here? Main purpose is to clean the soul of past sins. So you have to take a plane flight and look at a big cube to cleanse yourself of past sins. Okay. It's that simple.
Understand how important it is to fulfill this obligation for your loved ones. That's why we offer our professional and reliable service to perform Umrah on behalf of your sick or deceased parents, spouse, or any other relatives. We believe that everyone should have the opportunity to fulfill this Umrah on their behalf.
Okay, so this is a scam so he can make money off this bullshit. All right.
Contact us today and let's make it happen. Bi'idhnillah. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new, my name is Bobby. Guys, upon popular request, we're gonna react to Hamza Tsortsi.
If he's Muslim, doesn't he have to cover his bald head with one of those, like, things that you put on your head? Or is that just optional?
Richard woke up and chose to be brutally honest today. Anyway, what are your thoughts on chess? Is it something you've tried and are good at, or... Anyways, love how intelligent you are, spitting facts wherever you go.
I did play chess before. I think for my age, at least, I was, like, pretty decent at it. I completely and utterly lost interest when there was a chess club at my grade 8 elementary school. I ended up going after school, and the teacher running the chess club didn't know how to fucking play. And when I'd win matches, he'd call it a fucking draw because of the manner in which I won. And when it wasn't a draw, I won. Then I just completely lost interest, stopped playing. So that was sweet. Thanks for the donation though, Craze.
Hamza.
How many days was the boot camp?
I don't know. I have no idea. Thanks for the donation, Sam.
Tsortsis with his video Why the Quran Destroys Atheism in under 10 minutes. This video title obviously resonates with me. Atheism is a rational ideology based upon nothing. Exactly, based up.
Like, if you're gonna attack atheism, maybe you should know what it is. It's a lack of belief. Yeah, It's based on nothing. It's a lack of belief. Like, what the fuck? Just so stupid. Like, do you believe in the tooth fairy? Like, just, oh my god. Oh. It's like claiming your lack of belief in the tooth fairy is based on nothing. Like, okay.
Upon nothing. This is the claim of the atheist. Something came out of nothing. How more irrational can it?
What? Now he's talking about causality and nothing coming from nothing. That has nothing to do with atheism.
Guys, with no further ado, let's have a look.
For our youngsters who are actually watching, what would you like to give as an advice or kind of like a proof for God, I would say? Because there are many types of arguments that can be made. The challenge, however, is that we sometimes look for the easiest, simplest one that can, one size fits all kind of thing. If you were to pick one of them and you were to say, if you know this and if you've mastered this and if you understood it, then inshallah you'll be able to give a good message to people who might be away from it, maybe kind of wake them up to the reality of who Allah is, and so kind of shake them up to that they understand that they have to die one day and face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what would you say is a good argument for that?
Atheism for me is the equivalent, if not worse, than believing the earth is flat. It doesn't really have intellectual...
By the way, the Quran says the earth is flat. Oh my god. Like, what a hilarious analogy. Buddy, your own fucking religious scripture says the earth is fucking flat, dude.
Veracity at all. We've given it that
I'm not
platform
convinced it's
because
round
we
either.
haven't really understood the psychological aspects of atheism or even the so-called intellectual aspects. But when we look at the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the main question that Allah is really answering for us is not does God exist, but who's worthy of worship? Or that Allah is worthy of worship. And this is very important to understand because it...
Dude, he was asked to provide proof of God, and then he talks about, like, I don't even know if this is an argument. This just sounds like fucking masturbation to me, but... if this is like an argument that he's making, it's question begging. He's making a premise that assumes the truthfulness of the conclusion. He's already like pointing to passages in the Quran as if they're, words from God. You can't use that as an argument for God. Like, it's question begging.
There is literally nothing that any of these imbeciles could say that hasn't already been destroyed by the atheist experience over a decade ago. It's like veganism, shit just keeps getting regurgitated over and over no matter the amount of debunks.
Yeah. We still have people saying plants have feelings, and we still have fucking Muslims and Christians talking about... It says so right in the Bible, right in the Quran, checkmate atheists. Like, it just never changes. Thanks for that donation, though, Awood.
It shifts the debate and the discussion. And we could unpack why that's the case, because I would argue that the idea of creative agency, the rububiyyah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is self-evidently true. And even in philosophy, something is...
Yeah, it's self-evidently true. That's why you can't provide any fucking evidence in support of your stupid dumb fuck belief, right? I wonder if he also thinks it's self-evidently true that the child rapist he worships flew on a winged horse. Because that's another belief that Muslims have.
Self-evidently true by default. The one who's opposing that claim has to provide the evidence, right? And there's so many other things we can unpack, and there's a chapter in my book on this issue. So I frame it that way so that people realize, oh, that's very interesting. And when you look at what an atheist is...
Okay, his argument for God is, it's obvious. Oh, great. That's a good one. Well, you see, God exists because obviously he exists. Religious people are so stupid.
It's from an Islamic paradigm you have different terms. For example, you have ilhad.
And then
You
he
have the
split the moon.
Dahriya,
Yeah,
which is
that
like
one
the
too.
philosophical naturalists of like the early period. But say ilhad coming from lahad, right? Lahad in the grave is like, you know, you dig a hole and there is a little side pocket. That's the lahad. Yeah, it's a deviation, godlessness. So a mulhid is someone who deviates. That's the first point. The second point, the Prophet ﷺ said in hadith in Sahih Muslim that every
gross,
child
baby.
is born in a state of fitrah. Yeah, there are scholarly discussions on this, but basically we have a fitrah that has an affinity, or it's driving itself towards the haqq, which is Allah is one, He's worthy of worship, He's worthy of extensive praise, He exists. So it's natural. Then Allah says only a fool, someone imprudent will reject the way of Ibrahim, which is
What? This is all question based.
Hey, still want to have that
Tawheed, and within Tawheed is creative agency, the rububiyyah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what are we getting from the Quranic paradigm here? We're getting that atheism is unnatural, it's a deviation, right?
Right. So all of his arguments are completely and utterly question begging. His like argument for the existence of God assumes the existence of God. It's just monumentally retarded.
It's irrational, because what does Allah say in chapter 52 verse 35 to 36 at the end?
Yeah, it's irrational. Tell me, do you think it's rational to rape 9-year-olds? Apparently, the Prophet Muhammad thinks so. Is it rational to murder people who leave your faith? Because, you know, according to your holy book, you're supposed to murder apostates, right? Do you think it's rational to execute gay people by rolling them down hills or throwing them off buildings?
One of my oldest friends has apparently been Muslim for about a year now. When I confronted him about the Prophet being a fucking pedophile, he told me that it was normal for people to marry children back then, and I haven't been able to look at him the same.
Yeah, it actually wasn't. Him marrying a 6-year-old was not normal. So that's just total bullshit. What did happen sometimes is that, say, wealthy people.
Of course my Discord is under...
Yeah, so it wasn't normal for people back then to marry 6-year-olds. So for like a 35-year-old man to marry a 6-year-old, that was highly abnormal. What would happen sometimes is that families would have arranged marriages or sell off their children if they couldn't make any money. And they'd sell their children off to some like older, wealthier person who's like a sicko. But as if that were just common case back then, like, no. I don't even understand how that's an excuse. Oh yeah, it was normal to have slaves and rape children and murder, apostates. Like, oh, okay. I don't understand how that absolves the behavior. It's just retarded. It's beyond retarded. Thanks for the donation, though, Dreamsation.
Indeed, you have no certainty, right? Because what does Allah say? Did you come from nothing? Am khuliqu makhluq? You're something that once didn't exist.
Yeah.
Muhdath, you came into being. So did you come from nothing? I know there is a scholar.
I mean, if they're going to say it's impossible for something to come from nothing, then they have no explanation for the existence of their own God. Like it's just so stupid. You can't have it both ways. So, this one is so old and so stupid. For one thing, I don't know why I would accept this claim that something can't come from nothing, Who knows if it can or can't? I also don't understand how you could apply this principle to everything else except the God you believe in. Like, if it doesn't apply to your God, why wouldn't it apply to anything else? It's just so stupid.
A discussion if it's from or via nothing.
And this is why the Quran is so powerful and transcendent of time, of course. Because if you look into this claim, it addresses our time right now, where the atheists claim we came out of nothing. Don't you see it as found?
Yeah, right. The Quran believes that the earth is flat. It was written in a time where people thought the earth was flat and we were living within a firmament. So, okay, I'm not going to rely on the Quran for like information on the age of the universe or shape of the earth. Like, what a dumb guy. Just what a dumb thing to bring up.
Within the Quran, and it asks you yourself to reflect upon this statement. Ask yourself, did you come out of nothing? How would that make sense? If there is nothing, literally nothing, why would atoms form in the first place? What?
Again, this is just such an incredibly ignorant statement. It is possible that it is impossible for nothing to exist. Things might always have existed. Like, these aren't questions that we can necessarily answer, but like claiming that you're ignorant of something, therefore God did it. Like, do you know how to fix your car, Bobby? Like, do you know how to clean a fucking fuel injector? No? Well, I guess when you go to the mechanic, they must do some sort of magic spell where they, pray to God to ask it to be fixed. And then, ta-da, right? Because you don't know how to clean out a fuel injector. Like, this is the type of shit that has been debunked like 20, 30 years ago or something on the atheist experience.
Why would there be a big bang out of nothing? If there is no building material, no potential for anything, there is nothing, how can anything spring out of it? And moreover, the question why is, of course,
is he ever going to, like, I don't even know if he's going to address the excuse that he makes for God, where God doesn't exist within this, like, causality framework.
was not answered either then. It just stamped into existence, and we can see certain evolution, a certain intelligent pattern. Evolution is intelligence after all, is it not? Where does this intelligence...
No. Evolution has no intelligence. It is entirely based on random mutations and natural selection. So you end up having people or things with more positive or, adaptations that are more beneficial for survival, being more likely to survive, them being more likely to pass on those genetic changes to their children, and then you end up seeing genetic changes over time. There is no intelligence when it comes to evolution. That's why you see so many weird things, like in creatures, like they're made in stupid ways. Like, do you think it's an intelligent design that we only that we share an airway or a hole for both food and air? So, like, if you're eating, you could choke to death. Does that sound like a fucking intelligent design? The way our optic nerve, the way it is positioned in our eye, there's actually a blind spot in your eye, and you can just Google it, blind spot in your eye test, and you can actually do these like interesting optical illusion tests where you'll actually be able to identify where that blind spot in your eye is. Your brain just fills out that little blind spot with similar patterns or colors that are around it. You can see in whales, they have these extremely complex bones in their flippers that look like hands. It doesn't need to be shaped like that. It doesn't make any sense, but it's shaped like that just because of evolution. That was just the way, these mutations changed the structure, like the shape of these creatures, and those changes just happen to be the most beneficial, but they're not intelligently designed in any way.
Intelligence come from? Where does existence come from? What is existence? Are you existing? All those questions are not being answered within atheism.
Yes, those questions aren't being answered within atheism because they probably can't be answered. Claiming that a child rapist from a couple thousand years ago figured it out isn't really an answer to those questions, is it? That's really nothing more than just a cope.
Quite the opposite. They are being ignored under the pretense
that we cannot answer them anyways.
Yeah.
which is ridiculous.
You know what? I still have Bobby on Facebook. I'll message him and see what he says. So he's ran away. He's ran away from a debate with me. I don't know how many times. Then, he said he'd fight me as long as it was to the death. And then I agreed. And he still made excuses for it. Let me see if he'll debate me on Islam. Hey, Bobby, I saw that you recently converted to Islam, and I also saw a video you made claiming the Quran destroys atheism, and it got me wondering if you'd be interested in having a debate over whether or not God exists. And if you'd prefer the God of the Quran. Let's just see what he says to that. He runs away from every other debate, but maybe, I don't know, he's especially confident about this topic.
Ridiculous.
At the end, the conclusion is the same.
Yeah.
Did you come from nothing? Did you create yourself? Did you create the heavens and the earth? بَلْ لَا يُقِنُونَ. Indeed, you don't have any certainty.
Exactly.
And I gave them just basically
Sorry. He's saying you didn't create the heavens and the earth, so you can't say with certainty what created them. That would also apply to your belief that God did it. So you can't say with any certainty that God did it. This is fucking retarded.
explanation of these ayat. Wallahi, I've used these ayat against philosophers, thinkers, humanists, liberals, secularists, some of the greatest atheists, and I am telling you, they have had no response as a counter defeater. They may have some shubuhat here and there, but as a undercutting defeater, nothing. Yeah.
He didn't make an argument. He just said something stupid that defeats his own argument. Like, what?
And it's from the Quran. So the Quran is talking about the human being, but you can't apply the logic of these verses to something that came into existence. So we could establish the universe came into existence just by a metaphysical argument. You don't need to go to astrophysical evidence that's dhanni, because it's speculative, it's going to change, and it may change. We don't have to go to the philosophy of mathematics or the infinity. We can just talk about very basic things. So if you allow me, take this phone for example. If I said to you this phone is eternal.
Here we fucking go, dude. Like, this is just such rudimentary, like, you know, easy debunk shit that I've seen like 20 years ago. The reason you would think that a phone has only existed for a certain amount of time is because you have a cultural knowledge of what phones are, how they're created, that they are a product of intelligent design, and that, yeah, things, especially like digital computers, mechanical devices, they are finite, they wear down, they'll break down over time. So yeah, they're not infinite, they haven't always existed or will always exist. But when you're talking about just matter itself, that's a different story. So yeah, I wouldn't assume a phone to be infinite and have always existed and will always exist, but I don't know why I would assume matter itself couldn't have that property. Like, I mean, it's one of the fundamental principles in physics, isn't it? Or, like, matter cannot be created or destroyed? So, like, it's just so dumb.
Everyone would reject it. But why is the phone not eternal? Maybe I can claim you didn't see its beginning, you can't see its destruction, this phone is eternal.
You can't see its destruction. I mean, what was that channel that would just break shit?
What is going on?
I don't know if it's Tex or X, but there we go.
What?
There you go. I think he destroyed PlayStations too. Here's
What
one
is up, guys?
where he uses a gun, apparently.
Google Pixel Pro. It's on fire. It's on fire. It's on fire. Galaxy S22. It's like the reminder of the Note series. Look at the back.
So, phones can in fact be destroyed, so debunked.
Well, the reason intuitively and rationally we believe this phone is not eternal is because why? It has limited physical qualities. It has a particular shape, size, volume, color, temperature.
All shapes and forms that we witness in this world, in this dunya, are temporal. All of them will decay. The only eternal is Al-Haq, is God.
Density, mass. Why is it this?
Yeah, like, I mean, a rock can get eroded, like a phone will eventually be destroyed. How does that apply to matter itself? Like, I don't get it. Is God made up of matter? Like, I just don't understand. Booty come $22, let me see.
This color, not another color? Why is it this shape and not another shape? Why is it this mass and not another mass, and so on and so forth? And that raises
this is literally the watch argument.
another question. Can things with limited physical qualities give rise to their own limitations? No. I didn't give rise to my own limitations. Therefore, there is something external to me that gave rise to those limitations, and therefore this thing is finite. So therefore, it had a beginning. So
What? I'm sorry? I if something has limitations, that means it's finite and had a beginning. I don't understand why, if something has limitations, that makes it finite. and had a beginning, why would I believe that?
If you take this phone,
Yes, it's a great example. If you're creating a motorcycle, for example, you can create a 1000cc motorbike that will go up 300 kilometers an hour, or you can create a scooter. You're creating those limitations with a purpose. There's a purpose for a scooter and there's a purpose for a race bike.
and expand it to the size of the universe, same conclusion. Because it fundamentally is made of the same stuff.
Yeah.
Whether you call it strings or
I'm just like wondering if they're ever going to explain the exception they make for, you know, their belief in God when it comes to this like stupid causality argument.
quarks or whatever, irrelevant, limited physical qualities.
Sure.
So it's finite. If it's finite, then you could universalize the logic of these ayat. Did the thing that is makhluk, that came into existence, that's finite, did it come from nothing? Did it create itself? Was it created by something else created? Because why? What does the ayah say? Did you, the human being, the thing that is makhluk, create the heavens and the earth, which is makhluk? Yeah? So ultimately, is that an explanation? Or, which is implied in the ayat, or is there an uncreated creator? So just to repeat,
Exactly.
did it come from nothing? Did it create itself? Was it created by something else that was created, or was it created by something uncreated? So let's break it down. Could the universe come from nothing?
What? Was it created by something uncreated? What?
What we mean by nothing is no thing, no prior causal conditions. We're not talking about the theological nothing, kun fayakun.
Yeah.
That's different. That means Allah didn't have anything prior when He actually created the first creative thing, the first creation.
He only had
Allah
himself.
was there, yani, so you can't say it's nothing at all. His
Yeah,
irada and qudra.
Here's a question. If there was a time before God created anything, how long did it take him to create anything? Like, was he sitting there for like a billion years? A minute? Like, how long did it take him to think of these ideas and then do it? Like, did time exist at that point? They're not going to be able to answer any of this. And like, these are details you'd like, if you actually wanted to prove any of this, these are kind of details you'd sort of have to give, but they're not going to be able to answer.
With the prior causal conditions to bring the first creation into existence.
Yes.
We're not talking about that type of nothing. We're
He would be the infinite potential, so he's most certainly not nothing.
saying no thing, no prior causal conditions, no thing at all. Can something arise from that? No.
No.
Because when you have kuchne, nothing, and more kuchne, and more kuchne, you're going to get kuchne.
Yeah.
0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0. Something with no property, with no potential, no prior causal conditions, no thing at all.
Why, like, I'm still not understanding why we would assume that nothing existed aside from God. Where's their evidence for this? And, like, God is a thing, right? Like, in order for him to exist, he'd have to, like, be made of matter of some sort.
It's impossible. And if they claim that's the case, then they're irrational and absurd. Because it's the equivalent of me shutting my eyes, counting to 3, and after 3, this whole room has disappeared. And I should say it's perfectly fine. How can that be perfectly fine? Because it's irrational. There must have been an explanation how it disappeared or it's gone into nothing. Because if you could...
Yeah, to play devil's advocate here, the atheist will say they simply do not know and neither do we, and therefore they are not obsessing about what has been before. They are simply observing the natural world and they do not obsess, as I said, about what has happened prior to the assumed Big Bang. This is the atheist claim.
Well, I don't know what happened. Who knows if the Big Bang happened or not? As far as I know, that's the best theory we have at the moment, but I don't know. And guess what? A child rapist that existed, around 1500 years ago also didn't know.
Even though the position is irrational, their claim to fame is that we simply do not need to know.
Accept the universe coming from nothing.
Yeah.
You should also accept this building, this room, to disappear for no reason at all. And that's logically absurd. So it couldn't come from nothing. Couldn't create itself. Very easy way of doing this. Did you create yourself? Can your mother give birth to herself? This implies that something exists and doesn't exist at the same time. Last point. Was the universe created by...
That made no sense. Let me go back.
Implies that something exists and doesn't exist at the same time. From nothing. Couldn't. And that's logically absurd. So it couldn't come from nothing. Couldn't create itself. Very easy way of doing this. Did you create yourself? Can your mother give birth to herself? This implies that something exists and doesn't.
I mean, it is logically possible that you could create yourself. This is sort of a bad example, but in Futurama, there was a causality loop where the main character Fry actually was his own father or grandfather, I think. Yeah, I think his grandfather or great-grandfather. He went back in time to, I think, the 1950s or 60s. Yeah, he created his father, where he ended up having sex with a woman who would be his grandmother. Then that created his dad, and then his dad ended up having a kid. And that was the explanation for the weird brain deformity that he had that allowed him to not get controlled by the those like floating brains. So, but like something like that is logically possible, where in the future you could go back in time somehow and create yourself or create the universe. You could have a causality loop like that. It's logically possible. So what, like, again, why would I assume any of this is true? Like they're just making assumptions.
Doesn't exist at the same time. Last point. Was the universe created by something else that was created ultimately? Many may argue, well, this universe was as a result of a prior universe. Okay, no problem. Is that an ultimate explanation? No. Okay. If it's not an ultimate explanation, let's explain that universe that created this universe. Oh, it was another universe. Okay, no problem. What created that universe?
Infinite
Another
progression.
universe. Oh, okay, what created that universe? Another universe. If that goes on forever, we will never have today's universe, right?
Yeah.
This is not.
Well, like, again, you can have causality loops. Like, it is logically possible, assuming something like time travel is possible. And if these fucking people are going to say, oh, but now we're talking about time travel, just ask them, does your God have the power to travel back in time and change something? They would have to say yes, because he's all powerful. So, like, it is logically possible that, yeah, there could just be a causality loop.
Not the infinite regress of events, it's the infinite regress of causes. It's absurd, yeah? So, in order for this universe to come...
Like, I'm just very interested in how they explain how God came into existence, because, you know, supposedly he would violate this causality principle.
into existence, you have to wait forever in order for it to come into existence. But
oh, hey, Bobby, you reacted to me. Hey, Richard, I'm really wondering when you will get over me. How's life? You're all right? I wish you the best. So still a coward. Okay. I see that your worship of a child rapist hasn't made you any less of a coward. Aren't Muslims supposed to blow themselves up and fly into buildings and stuff? I thought that took courage. You're clearly not a real Muslim.
forever never ends. And if it's true, it's a forever chain.
It's a little racist, but still funny. Bootycum donated $2. Watch all of them and watch the last one fully. Alright, sure. Just confirm it. Okay, so this is Bobby responding to me again. You're just confirming why there's no point in talking to you. You're obviously not interested in finding truth. As Muslims, we are not commanded to debate with disbelievers like yourself. Allah guides who he wills, but your disrespect will, of course, not go unnoticed. Sometimes it's better to say nothing. Aren't you worried you'll be commanded to fly into a building then? Fucking idiot. Like, he wouldn't debate me no matter what he said, so I don't know why the fuck he's saying that. What a fucking idiot.
We would never have this universe in the first place. So Ibn Taymiyyah and Al-Ghazali basically affirmed this point. So what does this mean? There must be an uncreated creator. That's the quick way of showing that there's a creator from the Quran. And I believe the Quran arguments are the best arguments, and I believe they could also be universalized. So you don't have to believe in revelation to accept this argument.
Yeah, these are universal.
Yeah, you can universalize it. So from that perspective, you could show there's an uncreated creator, and there's other things that you can rationalize, but we could just go to the next point really quickly.
Again, to play devil's advocate here, because I've been listening to many atheist claims, they would say now,
But you cannot see that uncreated creator.
and this is proof enough for them. But of course you cannot see an uncreated creator within a limited creation. However, those questions are not answered through science, but through philosophy. This is a philosophical endeavor, and philosophically, Hamzat Sorsi's points here make absolute sense, and the atheist ones do not.
Nothing he's saying makes any sense. Like, there's not really any reason why we'd accept any of these premises, like him saying it's impossible to create yourself. Why would I assume that?
Is the creator, then he's worthy of worship. He is worthy of your adoration, of your obedience and your worship. There's many reasons for that, but let's take one very quick reason.
By the
If
way,
Allah is
I literally made a fucking video making fun of this topic.
Al-Khaliq, he's the perpetually creating, he's Al-Khalaq, sorry, the perpetually creating, he's Al-Khaliq, the creator, then he created everything. All of the asbab that you use to enjoy yourself and all of the blessings that you have. But significantly, Allah has given you something, has created something for you to use, or He's given you something that is priceless, that you don't earn, own, or deserve. And it's freely given to you. And it's every moment of your existence. If I said you had 10 minutes left to live, but in order to have another 10 days, you have to give me all of your wealth, you would throw all of your wealth at me. Such is the priceless gift of life. But we don't earn life, own life, or deserve it. We can't even create a fly, as Allah says in the Quran. So from that perspective, if it's true that Allah gives us a priceless gift at every moment of our existence that we don't earn, own, or deserve, how should it make us feel? Grateful. Grateful to whom? Allah. And gratitude is a key to worship. It is a form of worship. Right? As we know in Kitab, Surah Al-Fatiha, the first, depends what opinion you follow, but the main verse, all perfect praise and gratitude belongs to the Lord of everything that exists. So, and how do you express your gratitude? Through worship, acts of worship. How do you know what these acts of worship are? Following the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that's very quick nutshell. It was a powerful question, but I would use the Quranic argument. I would use the Quranic argument.
Alright guys, and this is it for today's video. Absolutely deep, especially in the end there. He is absolutely correct. The atheist argument cannot stand upon any firm ground. Quite the opposite, yet again, because it stands on nothing. If you think about atheists, they will tell you that something came out of nothing, and now somehow we have to obey a certain moral standard dictated to us by society. Why would we have to do that? David Wood, as much as everybody hates him, made one good point. He said that back in the day, he used to be an atheist. And during that time, he took a hammer and smashed his father's head in. Yes, he was a psychopath, a diagnosed one. That's his claim. And he was...
You know how many, people the Prophet Muhammad killed? Are you... What? How could you have any... I don't know how you would disprove the idea that the Prophet Muhammad is a psychopath. The guy murdered innocent people. He murdered apostates. he would go to war with nations or villages or societies that he knew that he could conquer, and he would only temporarily make alliances with those that he couldn't. Like, he raped a fucking 9-year-old girl. How the fuck? It's just retarded. The amount of violence that the Prophet Muhammad is responsible for, he would have been responsible for killing at least thousands of people. That is not anywhere near comparable to David Wood, I don't know who that is, smashing his father's face in with a hammer.
Asking the atheist, why don't they do the same? Because at least he truly was an atheist. He didn't believe in any type of consequence. Think about it. Something came out
and he
of
killed
nothing.
goats.
And once you die, you go to nothingness. You stop existing. If you truly would stop existing completely, then nothing matters. Because what does it matter if I die today or
I don't know how you could say that. If you're only going to have a finite existence, then you'd think the existence that you'd have now would be of the utmost importance, because you only have whatever time you have to enjoy yourself now, and then for the rest of time, you're never going to be able to experience this. Whereas in your set of beliefs, well, this life doesn't matter. You're only going to live for like maybe 80 years if you're lucky. Most people on the fucking planet are like going to live to like maybe like 50 or 60. That's, I think, the worldwide average life expectancy. And then you have an infinite period of time where you're going to live in paradise. So this world doesn't matter. And you'd hope that you die earlier so you can experience paradise sooner. Like, I don't know how that fucking makes any sense in his head.
or tomorrow or in 100 years. Who cares? Because you couldn't remember anything. Matter of fact, if you go back to nothing, you would never remember that you were born in the first place. So all the moments that you shared with your friends, with your family, with your children are all null. They're all for nothing. They never actually happened. So evolution just popped out of nothingness, and somehow randomly human families evolved out of that. Human families that can ask questions, that can feel love, affection towards each other. But all of that doesn't matter, remember?
I don't know how that results in something not mattering. How is there any more meaning to the world in his framework?
Because tomorrow the lights go off and everything is dark, everything is black, nobody cares. So if
well, like let's say we lived eternally, and we'd never die, or let's say like we were born in paradise and we'd have like an amazing existence. Like I don't know how in any of these situations anything would matter. Like, what does he mean by matter? Like matter to him, matter to somebody else. Like meaning is an entirely subjective term in the way he's using it. Why does his head look red and inflamed? He probably eats too much meat or something. He is Muslim now, so maybe he just smushes his head a little too hard on the floor when he prays.
this is truly the reality that the atheist mind wants to propose to us, why don't we just all go out, shoot everybody, pillage, just absolutely
Dude, you're Muslim. Muslims are the ones that are like most likely to commit terror attacks, religiously motivated terror attacks. Your religion was founded on warfare. The only reason Islam fucking exists is because your fucking prophet murdered people and went to war, and then you're saying Islam is the reason there's peace? Motherfucker, have you heard of Afghanistan? Like, it's just so stupid.
page, because nothing matters. There is no right and wrong. But moreover, the atheist will always insist that they are moral people. Why? Why do you care? I talk to so many vegans, man. Most vegans are atheists.
Yeah, by the way, who has a larger like body count? Vegans or Bobby? Like, dude, for one thing, you murder animals. So you're talking about your religion leading to more moral behavior? You fucking murder innocent animals. Secondly, dude, like it's literally written in your religion that you must kill apostates. So why are you talking about this idea of religion leading to like a peaceful, or Islam specifically, leading to a peaceful world where people aren't committing violence when your religion demands violence? It's just so stupid. And then you're talking about vegans specifically, people who like live by a philosophical belief where you cannot commit violence, which would violate someone's rights.
So they don't believe in God, they don't believe in right and wrong, but they do believe that it's wrong to eat animals. Why would it be wrong if there is no right and wrong in the first?
Okay, if you're gonna say that, then how do you justify eating animals? Like, he's saying, oh, it's hypocritical for vegan atheists to say it's wrong to eat animals if they don't believe in God. Then wouldn't the inverse be true? That it would be hypocritical for you to eat animals since you believe in God? I also don't understand his, like, he hasn't made an argument for it, but I don't know how a lack of belief in God means you can't have moral principles. Those two things are mutually exclusive.
Place. And why would it be wrong if you believe in Darwinistic evolution? Just look around you, everything eats each other, so join the party.
By the way, this is the argument he used for eating meat.
Have a steak. Who cares? Tomorrow you are dead. Don't you understand? It is an ideology of absolute
Well, I don't know if I'm going to die tomorrow, especially since I'm vegan. We tend to live longer.
despair, because it doesn't give you any moral groundwork, any philosophical groundwork, any value. But the human being seeks value.
Like, it's becoming painfully obvious why this dumbass wouldn't debate me, including on the topic of Islam.
This is what we do in everything that we do. We are seeking value. We're trying to understand the worth behind it, the meaning behind it. The human being is a creature that wants to understand the meaning of its surroundings and the...
What do you mean the meaning? There's no meaning to anything. Like, even if we were to agree on this kind of world framework that you have, where God created anything, that doesn't produce any more meaning. You're just adding another step to how things got here. Whether God exists, it doesn't add any additional meaning to anything. It just means, okay, well, the reason the roses were there, like the roses are outside, is because God put them there. Okay, why did God put them there? Because he felt like it? Okay, does that add any meaning to anything? No. Like, it's... Meaning is entirely subjective. The only sensible belief to have is existential nihilism. The only meaning that you'll ever find is a meaning that you generate for yourself or by yourself. There's no objective meaning to anything. Meaning is a concept that requires a mind. It's impossible for meaning to be objective. In the sense that he's using the word meaning anyway.
What is your message?
Let's see, Bootycum donated $2.
To Western human rights groups, to President Obama,
Respect,
to lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people?
Respect African societies and their values. If you don't agree, you just keep quiet. Let's manage our society the way we see.
Respect African values, right? And how many vaccines did you ask the United States for? Dipshit? Like, yeah, fuck you. This guy's a dipshit.
If we are wrong, we shall find out by ourselves.
If you're wrong, you'll find out by yourself. No, you won't find out. The people that you're murdering will find out for themselves.
Just the way we don't interfere with yours.
Do you personally dislike homosexuals?
Of course, they are disgusting.
This guy with the most greasy, wrinkly fucking face is calling gay people disgusting. Buddy, I've literally seen buttholes that look better than your face. I'd rather kiss, like, a butthole that I see than your fucking face. Like, you're telling me, dude.
What sort of people are they? How can you go... I never knew what they were doing. That's how I've been told recently that what they do is terrible, disgusting. But I was ready to ignore that if there was proof that that's how he's born, abnormal. But now the proof is not there.
Yeah, that's Uganda for you.
The meaning of its own existence, but you're going to take that away from humans. You're going to tell them that they're just biological machines that are worth absolutely nothing. Shame on you. Alright guys, but this is it for today's video. If you liked it, leave it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, guys, please do.
Yeah, Bobby is not a smart man.
Is a part